in the Black Belt of Alabama. In February 1965, in Lowndes County, the same county where Mrs. Martin Luther King Jr., not Lowndes, Perry County, get my counties right now. Mrs. Martin Luther King Jr., Mrs. Ralph Abernathy, and Mrs. Andrew Young were all born in this county. Marion, Alabama. Thank you, Terry. People went out one evening to protest. And a young man by the name of Jimmy Lee Jackson was shot and killed, where he later died at the Good Samaritan Hospital in Selma. And because of what happened to him, we made a decision to march from Selma to Montgomery. So Sunday, March 7, 1965, about 600 of us left Brown Chapel AME Church, walking in twos to walk from Selma to Montgomery. Jose Williams from Dr. King's organization and young John Lewis, representing the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, were asked to lead the march. I was wearing a backpack before it became fashionable to wear backpacks. I thought we would be arrested and that we would be going to jail. So in this backpack, I had 2 books. I wanted to have something to read while I was in jail. I had 1 apple and 1 orange. I wanted to have something to eat. I had toothpaste and toothbrush. I wanted to be able to brush my teeth. We crossed the bridge, and down below we saw a sea of blue, Alabama State Troopers. And Jose asked me, he said, "John, can you swim?" I said, "No, what about you?" I said, "No, Jose, I cannot swim." He said, "I can swim a little." He said, "Well, there's too much water down there. We're not going to jump." And so we just kept walking. We get to the edge of the bridge, foot of the bridge. A man identified himself and said, "I'm Major John Cloud of the Alabama State Troopers. This is an unlawful march. It will not be allowed to continue. I give you 3 minutes to disperse and return to your homes or to your church." The major said, "Troopers advance." I said, "Major, may I have a word?" He said, "There will be no words." The trooper came toward us, beating us with knife sticks, trampling us with horses, releasing tear gas. You saw people falling, people crying. I was hit in the head. My legs went from under me. I fell to the ground. I thought I saw death. I thought I was going to die. All these many years later, I don't know how I made it back across the bridge, but I understand that a group of young people took me back across the bridge to Brown Chapel AME Church. And the group asked me to say something to the audience. The church is full to capacity. Hundreds and hundreds of people gathered outside of the church trying to get in. And I stood up and said, I don't understand it. How President Johnson can send troops to Vietnam and cannot send troops to Selma, Alabama to protect people who only desires to register to vote. And the next thing I knew, I had been taken to the Good Samaritan Hospital with 16 other people that were hurt. I had a concussion. Early that Monday morning, the following Monday morning, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Reverend Ralph Abernathy came to visit us. And Dr. King said, "Don't worry, John, we will make it from Selma to Montgomery." He said he had issued a call for religious leaders to come to Selma that following Tuesday. On Tuesday, March 9th, More than 1,000 priests, rabbis, nuns, ministers gathered in Selma to walk across the bridge. That Tuesday evening, 3 young ministers left the heart of the African American community to go out to try to get something to eat. And they were attacked by members of the Klan. And one of the young ministers was so severely beaten, we were rushed to a hospital in Birmingham, where he later died. We were determined to make it from Selma to Montgomery. President Johnson responded to what happened in Selma. And he made one of the most meaningful speeches any American president had made in modern time in the whole question of voting rights and civil rights. We watched and listened as President Johnson was speaking. And as I said yesterday, he closed that speech by saying, "And we shall overcome." He condemned the violence in Selma, but he was the first American president to use the theme song, to use the words, "And we shall overcome." Some of us cried. Martin Luther King Jr. cried to hear Lyndon Johnson say, "And we shall overcome." We went into federal court in Montgomery. Judge Frank M. Johnson was a federal judge. I testified. Fred Gray was our lawyer with several other lawyers. But Judge Frank M. Johnson, this unbelievable man, was in his court during the Freedom Ride back in '61. Our lawyers got the tapes from CBS News, showed him. The judge looked at the film footage. He stood up, shook and rolled, recessed the court, and came back and said these people have a right to march in an orderly, peaceful, nonviolent fashion. And we did. So the march from Selma to Montgomery that took place over 5 days, we marched up this highway. Some people stayed on a tent. People came out of their homes, out of their churches, and greeted us along the way. Before we walked into Montgomery, there was a whole delegation of Americans living abroad who came home. People came from Hollywood, Harry Belafonte, James Baldwin, so many more that I just don't recall. But it changed America. And we had an unbelievable rally on the steps, near the steps of the Capitol. So today, as you travel down this highway, traveling down a highway that helped change America forever. Terry Sewell, my good friend and